meeting to order, and we're glad to have Gary and Liz via Zoom. Melanie, if you call the roll, please.
Of course, make sure your microphones are turned to green, please. Commissioner Barquette,
Here.
Commissioner Christopherson,
Here, virtually.
thank you. Commissioner Duffy is excused.
Can you
Commissioner
hear me?
Griffin,
Here.
Commissioner Trezza,
Here.
Vice Chair Blanchard, can you hear me?
Present.
Thank you. Chairman Allen,
Here.
you do have 6 commissioners present. That does constitute a quorum.
Good. Our next item on the agenda is our consent calendar. Is there anything that any of the commissioners would like to remove from the consent calendar to discuss? Seeing none, I see no members of the public here, and no one has requested a poll from the public. Melanie?
Correct.
Then I'll entertain a motion for the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar. Roll call vote, since we are virtual.
Chairman Allen,
Yes.
Commissioner Barquette,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blanchard, do you approve?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Christopherson, do you approve?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin,
Yes.
and Commissioner Trezza.
Good.
It does pass with 6.
Okay, item 5, informational presentation, remediation of landfill area, initial remediation construction. Director?
So, one. So we don't have a presentation for this one. I apologize. But this is just an information item for a project that's out to bid right now. In May 2021, May 3rd, 2021, the board approved through Resolution 8233 a contract with Geosyntec Consultants for West Complex remediation services. This is the remediation that's required for the purposes of a soda ash terminal and rail line construction project. Currently, the advertisement for the project was publicly advertised in the Stockton Record on July 2nd, 2021. This is a legally required advertisement, and then the public bid schedule is as follows. July 15th, we had a mandatory pre-bid conference here on site for the contractors to visit the site and inspect the facility. On August 4th, we will have our bids due. August 16th is the proposed commission meeting presentation for this project. And immediately after the commission, a potential commission item, the following day we'll issue a notice of intent to award. This project is financed in the currently budgeted in the 2021-2022 approved budget for remediation construction in the amount of $2.2 million.
Commissioners, questions? Yeah.
Hey, Juan, I know it's a consulting company, but what's the logistics of what they do? I mean, they come out there and they got guys look around and say, hey, this is priority, this is, I mean, how does that work?
For the pre-bid?
Yeah.
So typically what we do is we have a mandatory, it's mandatory pre-bid, so
So it's mandatory.
mandatory, if you don't show up for the pre-bid, you can't bid on the project.
Right.
So what we'll do typically is we'll go over an agenda for the contract. We'll notify the contractors with the type of licensing that's required. We'll give them a preliminary schedule. We'll give them the project plans and specifications if they don't have them, or we'll instruct them to where they can get them if they don't have them yet. Our engineers are on site to answer questions. We don't field verbal questions. We'll answer them, but then they're required to submit them in writing to make them formal contract items, and then we'll all caravan out to the project site. We'll have them walk around, kick the tires, if you will. And then if there's any questions out on the site, we'll field those. If they want to come back for additional inspections, they'll coordinate that through our office, and we'll facilitate them to come out and escort them back. And then after that, it's just Q&A, and then their bids are submitted.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I just add one thing to that? A mandatory
the mandatory pre-bid meeting is a better practice of public agencies. And we started to do that because what it does, it takes away a low bidder from having artificially low bid and come back and say, well, I didn't know about this, I didn't know about that, I didn't know about out there. And it takes away one of the excuses that not the most honest low bidders will sometimes use to say there's a mistake and I have to increase the bid. So we're trying to make that low bid a legitimate low bid where we're not going to go back and negotiate something.
That sounds kind of ordinary.
And it's really good the staff does that because it's a very good agency practice.
I'd send a note out to you guys that we're going to try and have these as agenda items prior to the bidding process.
Right.
This one didn't work out just because timing, as opposed to having the bidding process and then do the agenda items. So at least when it comes up after the bids are awarded, you'll have heard it before, so.
Yeah, our intent is to have the project manual and the plans ready for the board prior to the meeting, so we'll send all the information out with our packet. Then we'll do an informational item, just like we just did here. If there's any questions about, hey, what's going on here, we'll be able to address all of those. And then once, hopefully, the board gives the project the blessing, we'll send it out to bid.
Bill, do you have a question?
Yeah, so Geosyntec will manage this whole process for us, but they're not gonna do the remediation. They're just gonna manage.
Yeah, they have oversight of the permitting and also the design. And they're also, they'll field the technical questions that come in from the
Cradle to grave,
contractors
all the way through completion.
all the way through completion.
Gary, Liz, any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
I would just have one little question to that. I mean, is that absolute that it's all the way through the completion, or is there some type of cap on timing, or at a certain point are we looking at, change orders or?
No, traditionally, what we do is if we have a construction manager oversee a construction project like this one, it's a pretty technical project, those will run concurrent. So when we go to award the construction contract, if there's anything that's required for the construction management side of it, we'll bring it to the board. Otherwise,
So this doesn't include construction management, or it does, right?
it does.
Okay.
It does, but if there's anything additional to that,
So there could be.
there could be,
There
but
could
we'll
be.
bring it at the same time.
I hear an ice cream truck. Any other questions of
Hello?
staff? If not, no action is required on this. This is just informational only.
Yeah.
So we will move, if there are no other questions, we will move on to agenda item 6, consideration and possible approval of a categorical exemption 15301 and 15302 pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, authorization for port staff to file a notice of exemption related thereto, and a resolution approving the port director to award contract to DSS Company, DBA Knife River Construction, for roadway rehabilitation on the West Complex for an amount not to exceed $744,166.
Thank you. So this presentation is for the Mccoy Hooper Roadway Improvements Project. Some very similar information you're going to see, similar to what I just detailed in the previous project, but this is basically a rehabilitation project for 3 of our main freight corridor roadway project, McCloy Avenue, Hooper Drive North, and Hooper Drive South. This project is budgeted in the 2021-2022 budget and is all on the West Complex. So the 3 roadways have different levels of work, but generally it's pavement replacement and rehabilitation. Because I mentioned some of the roads have minor additional work, but for the most part it's paving. As I mentioned, it's on the West Complex. You can see McCloy Avenue there in the yellow, Hooper South in the cyan color, and the Hooper Drive North is in the red. We consider these roadways our main freight corridor roadways, in addition to our waterfront roadway and all the roadways heading to our terminals. So as I mentioned, some of this information I covered for the other project, but part of the public bid process is that we have a legally required advertisement published in a local newspaper. It's also posted to our website simultaneously and also distributed to local regional plan rooms. I think last count there was about 7 plan rooms that we send those plans and specs to, as far north as Sacramento and down to the Bay Area, and everywhere in between they disseminate those. Yes, sir.
I was just gonna ask, is this the one we saw like about 6 weeks ago?
It is.
Yeah, okay.
It is.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's
Yeah.
And this is bringing it back for approval of bids, awarding the contract.
Right, but a new guy won,
Yes.
Yes.
right? A new guy won, okay. New company.
Juan, who will oversee the quality or extent of their work? Is
So
that-
for this one, will be managed by our internal construction management firm with minor assistance from our engineering on-call contractor. But for the most part, this will be handled on the daily from our guys internal.
What's the cross-section going to be when this is all finished?
Equivalent to 5 inches.
Equivalent to 5 inches
Yeah.
means,
So the fabric is considered 2,
okay,
and then additional 3.
now that's above base level.
Yes,
right?
sir.
So what's the base going to be at? How much is the base?
18.
18?
Yeah.
And that's there, so this is just going to be added on top of the
Correct.
existing roadway?
Yeah, and there'll be repairs, our engineers went through, and there's certain areas that need a little extra, so they'll go down, repair that, and build it back up. Certain areas that are failing. So, June 23rd, we had our mandatory pre-bid, and we received 6 bids on July 7th. As a breakdown of the bids, mentioned a new guy won. DSS DBA Knife River Construction, it was a low bidder at $744,166. Pretty competitive bids. This is typical of what you would expect to see as far as the spread in the bids. There's always some, they're a little higher, which we consider outliers, but for the most part, our engineers verified all the quantities. We do a bid tabulation for the bids, so we compare them side by side on a spreadsheet to make sure that there's nothing imbalanced or anything like that, and that was all documented. So the bid appears, valid on our end.
Are those approved plans
Yeah.
by the city of Stockton approved them?
Yes.
Okay.
So the CEQA exemption under the environmental section is section 15301. That's negligible or no expansion of existing or former use. And section 15302, substantially the same purpose and capacity as the structure replaced. The proposed project consists of repair and maintenance work on existing roadways at the Port of Stockton with no expansion of use. So notice to proceed, scheduled 45 days after award. Financing 2021-22 budget. Staff recommendation authorize the port director to execute this contract to Knife River, DBA Knife River, in the amount of $744,166.
Other questions for Juan?
Sounds like this is just 100% maintenance, basically.
100% maintenance, correct.
Gary or Liz, any questions?
Thank you, Jay. No.
Thank you. What's your pleasure, Commissioners?
Motion to move.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve, awarding the contract to, well, I guess there are 2 steps here, Steve. We need, first of all, to approve the CEQA exemption.
You can do that all in one.
All in one motion. Okay, so that's the approval, that's the motion, is to approve the environmental exemption and to award the contract to DSS DBA Knife River. Roll call, Melanie?
Chairman Allen,
Yes?
Commissioner Barquette,
Yes.
Vice Chair Blanchard.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Christopherson.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Griffin.
Yes.
Commissioner Trezza.
Yep.
You have 6, it does carry.
Thank you. We are now to item 7, committee reports. Anthony?
None.
Bill? Gary or Liz, any committee reports?
No, no, sir.
No reports, thank you.
Thank you. None from me. Port director's comments.
Thank you. You guys have the shipping activity report, just a couple of things to highlight there. The cement tonnage is about 90% above last year, so that's something we expect to see through this year and into next year. Year to date, in comparison to last year, we're up we're up 43 vessels and just over 740,000 tons year to date 2020. So one thing I did want to talk about, we had a fly ash vessel that came in on June 29th that had some issues. The way it was loaded in India was not loaded well, and the sacks were all overloaded. So basically, when it got here, there were some environmental issues and concerns with unloading it. So it's not gonna happen. SSA, we were in contact. Jason's group was in contact with SSA through this whole process, as well as Jeff. So we're not sure what's going to happen to it yet. It was scheduled to part tomorrow, but that's not going to happen. We're going to shift it, and then we're going to determine how it's going to get emptied at this point, or if it's just going to be returned. Jason, is there a chance that they just send it back?
Yeah, I think, Kirk, it really is undetermined. It's moved from a normal operating discharge.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate as to what it could end up at, but it is definitely something that is not consistent with the condition that the receiver was promised. So they're working through the process now to determine next steps.
Gotcha.
Can you explain, like, what's wrong or why?
So the commodity is fly ash. So it is typically handled in bulk and specialized unloading systems. This shipment was brought to Stockton by a customer who's located nearby in Super Zacks. So what we're finding with actual condition of cargo is that...
Excuse me, I can't hear too well.
Sorry about that. The condition of cargo and the bags is such that it's allowing fugitive material to escape from the bags. So when we're handling it, it is causing some dusting issues. And the second piece that is still undetermined is there's some question with lifting capacity or integrity of the bags when they're being lifted or handled. So those are the two main components of sort of the challenges with the shipment. So shippers and stevedores and pretty much every stakeholder involved is working to determine next steps on how to get this vessel safely discharged.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So
Jason.
is it just a dust issue environmentally, or is it inert?
It is an issue of dust. It's very fine, so it gets airborne and disperses and forms large clouds very easily. So it becomes very visible from a
Just trying to be
observer standpoint. Yeah,
Thank
you'll get to see it on Wednesday.
It'll still be here. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
Thank you.
expensive.
So we found out on Friday we got awarded two port security two grants through the port security program. One is for the upgrades and repairs of the police boat, about $53,000, and one for closed circuit TV upgrades and enhancements, which is $151,000. 3 leases were signed since the last meeting. The first one was for the Edible Schoolyard project. They're taking over the former Puentes Garden and Boggs tract. That's 5-year. No rent rate on that.
Who's doing it?
Edible Schoolyard projects.
Okay.
They, Sylvester, do you mind real quick? Thanks.
Yeah, the Edible Schoolyard is a group that actually was formed 25 years ago out of Berkeley. And Che Panay is the restaurant and the chef that started the group. So they do educational, a lot of educational from A to Z on handling food, vegetables, and those kind of things. So they're going to be doing a lot of on-site demonstrations, a lot of on-site programs for the neighborhood and events, and then they're going to make sure that the community that in the Boggs Tract is able to benefit from all the harvests that are going on. So they're very excited to be here.
You
And
should try to take advantage. That's Alice Waters. Is
yes,
that her name? Yeah,
yes,
she's famous, very famous.
yeah.
And Mayor brought our former mayor brought her in, and through his things, and she's Chez Panisse is a really famous place in Berkeley, and they've been running this program, so I'm glad they're doing it. That's a good
And
job.
Patricia Miller has been their local representative, and she's actually the first person that brought the Puente Gardens project up to, she used to work for our former George Lerner when they were in the PD. So it's nice to have her back at the primary helm of putting this together. So, any question?
Thank you. Second one is just an office lease at the World Trade Building. That's 1 year, $4,176 annually, and that commences July 1st. And the third one is a 5-year lease with Clean Planet. This is 6 acres, $120,000 per year. That'll start September 1st and run for 5 years, as I said. That company.
Is that an expansion? What is?
No, what they do is they're a recycler of construction, cement, wood products, things like that. So it's part of, they're an offshoot of, Steve, what's the name, what's the company?
California Materials.
Thank you, California Materials.
Yeah. Okay.
We met on Friday with Daniel Smith from Tioga Group and about the strategic plan. So we're starting kind of at ground zero at this point. Since we can all get together post-COVID, we can get together and talk about it. We've gone through all the outreach. Now we're starting to do kind of the in-reach. So we're going to meet as a group, all the directors and all the staff to get together and talk and put really just kind of a basic outline. I sent that to you guys, but we're looking at, that's just I would say just a base of our outline. Once we get that done, we'll get all the commissioners involved in that. So we're hoping probably September timeframe, we'll be able to sit down together. We'll have a good draft, hopefully a more simplified draft for everyone, and then we can address it at that point with everyone. Okay, unless timing works differently for everyone, but we'll plan on one of the September meetings.
In talking with the director, we're going to involve the entire commission in this discussion, not an ad hoc committee, since I think we are all very interested in what's happening. So,
Good idea.
that's it. Thank you. Commission comments. Anthony?
None, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to commend the staff and the director for working through that fly ash situation. There was labor issues that arose from it, and I thought Jason did a good job, director, keeping calmer heads to prevail. I'm glad we're getting through this thing. And so I just wanted to reach out to that. And also I noticed Richard Sherris is in the audience there. Hello, Richard. And also wanted to know how you liking the job so far.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
You'll probably ask them, but I'm fine with how I'm doing.
Well, welcome. That's it.
Bill?
Same.
Gary?
I was
Comments?
two things very quickly. I think this was said, but I think Steve Griffin has had a hand in trying to help with the resolution of that fly ash issue. And I think we owe him some gratitude for that. And second, just a very brief commendation of my IT department here in North Idaho, comprised of an 11-year-old grandson who knows far more about this than I do. And so if you can hear me and see me, then we can thank him or blame him. That's all.
Thank you.
Oh, that picture. Can you see behind that picture behind me?
Yeah.
That happens to be the ugly scene I have to look at from the kitchen table or the deck.
Oh,
Poor thing.
Yeah, it's a shame.
it's a shame.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Well, thanks, Gary. Liz, any comments?
I just want to, can you hear me?
Yes.
Compliment and congratulate our director. He was the host for the various chamber launching the fall season at our port. And many of the people there were very happy they got to meet our new director. So thank you for being there.
I think it was a great event.
Good. I have no comments, just thank you to staff for holding the fort down during summertime. Seems like a lot of us, myself included, go for parts unknown. Some of us make it back for the meetings though, Gary, so we'll leave it at that. Anyway, thank you to everybody.
It's 1,000 miles was too much overnight.
Anyway, thank you to everyone for what they do. We have no public comments on agenda items. Melanie?
Correct.
Thank you. At this point, we will go into a closed session to discuss one real property transaction. Thank you, everyone.
In a competitive global economy, companies must look for every possible advantage. Where a company locates its operations can work to its considerable advantage. Case in point, the Port of Stockton.
We have customers all over the world, and when I say we're at the Port of Stockton, they say, the port of what? And they often say, how could there be a port in Stockton? It's not on the coast.
Just 80 miles inland on the San Joaquin River is the Port of Stockton, gateway to California and the western United States. Gateway because the port sits where road, rail, and river all converge. The port's central location provides many strategic advantages.
We chose this location because of its centralized characteristics, being in the midst of the major hubs for transportation throughout the West Coast.
Best Logistics offers customers a highly responsive distribution center for fast delivery of product to their outlets.
We're only minutes off of Interstate 5, and of course Interstate 5 travels all the way from Mexico up to North Canada.
Community Fuels is a leader in the emerging biofuels industry, with their research and development and production all located at the port.
I personally evaluated over 75 different locations to find the right place for our business. That decision was driven by a lot of different criteria. Things such as logistics, access to a skilled labor force, proximity to either our customers or our suppliers.
Yara International manufactures fertilizer in Europe, sending it by ship to its new distribution facility, dockside at the Port of Stockton.
We are centrally located. We can reach the Central Valley of the United States, which is the most prolific agricultural production in the United States. We can reach the North Valley where we have rice. We can certainly go west where we have Napa Valley. It's perfect.
Two major railroads, the nearby Interstate Highway and the Deepwater Shipping Channel, afford tenants all of the intermodal options they might need.
Here at Stockton, we pride ourselves on our ability to service our customers in a multitude of ways, either via truck, via rail, as well as we receive our products via ship.
We can receive vessels up to 30,000 tons, which obviously decreases our cost in transportation from Europe.
Tenants at the Port of Stockton have a variety of storage options. Best Logistics relies on both yard and warehouse space to accommodate their customers' constantly changing needs.
The beauty about public warehousing is that we're able to expand our space as you need it. So as customers grow their business, we're able to also scale ourselves to that growth.
With both covered and open storage areas, the Port of Stockton is uniquely suited to handle bulk commodities and materials.
Right now we're standing in a 40,000 square foot warehouse section occupied by one of our feed operators. The way the warehouses are set up, you have truck dock access on one side and rail dock access on the other. Typically, the way the feedstock comes in is it comes in by rail car, it's unloaded, it goes into the warehouse section for storage, and then that's offloaded to truck for dispersion to customers.
Available land, robust infrastructure, and construction support make the Port of Stockton especially attractive to companies interested in building their own customized facilities.
The investment that we've undergone here in Stockton was basically to increase our productivity, to centrally locate our products, and to have a facility that's state-of-the-art, conveyor systems that allow us to receive and ship out as efficiently as possible, much more so than a lot of our competitors.
The port has 600 to 700 acres on the port's west complex ready for development. It can be rail served. The infrastructure's in place. The port's the electric utility. We have a programmatic EIR that has been approved, streamlines the cost and the timing for the environmental side of getting the project to construction.
We've built this company from the ground up, and that means that the project that you see here at the port was new construction. So when certain questions come up about expanding our facility or plans for the future, we first look to Port of Stockton and their expertise and their personnel who can guide us on those plans.
The Port of Stockton does have a real can-do spirit. It looks to bring in business. It looks to bring in jobs.
Being a tenant here at the Port of Stockton has very much helped our business grow.
With the lease that the Port of Stockton provided us, it was just the choice that we couldn't pass up.
Being at a deep water shipping port creates a lot of exciting opportunities. And as we have more wonderful tenants and more great activity occurring at the Port of Stockton will be talked about throughout the country and around the world.
Back in 2006, we started building and installing barn owl nest boxes to enhance the barn owl population here at the port.
We put cameras in the boxes, put the images up on our website. I think we had 40,000 hits on our website just on the owls in 1 month last year.
The public went absolutely crazy for it. We would post regular updates on the port's Facebook page, and we got many, many, many responses, lots of interested viewers. Absolutely beautiful animals. They've got a big white disc of their face that actually helps channel light and sound. So when they're out hunting at night, they are able to locate their prey. The islands here are all surrounded by levees. To maintain the integrity of those levees, it's pretty important that you keep rodents from burrowing and digging holes. These owls can eat up to 3,000 rodents in a single breeding season. So they're quite an effective method of rodent control. To our knowledge, we have increased the population quite a bit. This particular box behind me last year housed 7 owlets. They all survived to fledging, which is somewhat rare. A typical brood is more in the neighborhood of 4 or 5, but we have 16 of these boxes at the port, and so you do the math. There's a significant number of outlets being reared. I guess it's like the field of dreams. Build it and they will come, because they were here in short order, and this particular box has been in use every year since 2006.
The point of the OwlBox program is to reduce pesticide use, protect our levees, and in the meantime, now we've got a great project we can also share with the public that creates interaction.
The port wants to do everything they can to enhance the environment and support local wildlife.
In a competitive global economy, companies must look for every possible advantage. Where a company locates its operations can work to its considerable advantage. Case in point, the Port of Stockton.
We have customers all over the world, and when I say we're at the Port of Stockton, they say, the port of what? And they often say, how could there be a port in Stockton? It's not on the coast.
Just 80 miles inland on the San Joaquin River is the Port of Stockton, gateway to California and the western United States. Gateway because the port sits where road, rail, and river all converge. The port's central location provides many strategic advantages.
We chose this location because of its centralized characteristics, being in the midst of the major hubs for transportation throughout the West Coast.
Best Logistics offers customers a highly responsive distribution center for fast delivery of product to their outlets.
We're only minutes off of Interstate 5, and of course Interstate 5 travels all the way from Mexico up to North Canada.
Community Fuels is a leader in the emerging biofuels industry, with their research and development and production all located at the port.
I personally evaluated over 75 different locations to find the right place for our business. That decision was driven by a lot of different criteria. Things such as logistics, access to a skilled labor force, proximity to either our customers or our suppliers.
Yara International manufactures fertilizer in Europe, sending it by ship to its new distribution facility, dockside at the Port of Stockton.
We are centrally located. We can reach the Central Valley of the United States, which is the most prolific agricultural production in the United States. We can reach the North Valley, where we have rice. We can certainly go west, where we have Napa Valley. It's perfect.
Two major railroads, the nearby Interstate Highway and the Deepwater Shipping Channel, afford tenants all of the intermodal options they might need.
Here at Stockton, we pride ourselves on our ability to service our customers in a multitude of ways, either via truck, via rail, as well as we receive our products via ship.
We can receive vessels up to 30,000 tons, which obviously decreases our cost in transportation from Europe.
Tenants at the Port of Stockton have a variety of storage options. Best Logistics relies on both yard and warehouse space to accommodate their customers' constantly changing needs.
The beauty about public warehousing is that we're able to expand our space as you need it. So as customers grow their business, we're able to also scale ourselves to that growth.
With both covered and open storage areas, the Port of Stockton is uniquely suited to handle bulk commodities and materials.
Right now, we're standing in a 40,000 square foot warehouse section occupied by one of our feed operators. The way the warehouses are set up, you have truck dock access on one side and rail dock access on the other. Typically, the way the feedstock comes in is it comes in by rail car, it's unloaded, it goes into the warehouse section for storage, and then that's offloaded to truck for dispersion to customers.
Available land, robust infrastructure, and construction support make the Port of Stockton especially attractive to companies interested in building their own customized facilities.
The investment that we've undergone here in Stockton was basically to increase our productivity, to centrally locate our products, and to have a facility that's state-of-the-art, conveyor systems that allow us to receive and ship out as efficiently as possible, much more so than a lot of our competitors.
The port has 600 to 700 acres on the port's west complex ready for development. It can be rail served. The infrastructure's in place. The port's the electric utility. We have a programmatic EIR that has been approved, streamlines the cost and the timing for the environmental side of getting the project to construction.
We've built this company from the ground up, and that means that the project that you see here at the port was new construction. So when certain questions come up about expanding our facility or plans for the future, we first look to Port of Stockton and their expertise and their personnel who can guide us on those plans.
The Port of Stockton does have a real can-do spirit. It looks to bring in business. It looks to bring in jobs.
Being a tenant here at the Port of Stockton has very much helped our business grow.
With the lease that the Port of Stockton provided us, it was just the choice that we couldn't pass up.
Being at a
Okay, we are back in open session. We received a report from staff regarding one real estate matter. We took no action. With that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Oh, we're talking about one meeting in August, probably the third week, the 16th, as opposed to the 2nd. If there are any conflict issues, please let Melanie or the director or me know. But that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
I won't be here.
I don't know how we can get along without you.
I won't be here, and I'll be in a different time zone that I don't think I'll be on the Zoom either.
You just
unless I'm a couple glasses of wine or something, or probably.
You just need an 11-year-old grandson to get you on Zoom.
That's
So
right. 1 a.m.